What's up team? Today we are going to be comparing the MIZUNO WAVE REBELLION PRO with the MIZUNO WAVE REBELLION Pro 2. Now last year MIZUNO introduced some pretty unique geometry with the WAVE REBELLION Pro, and of course they got their feedback and they made a few changes with this year's model. So in this video we're going to be talking about the changes and answering the question, should you buy the WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 or perhaps save a few bucks and get the WAVE REBELLION Pro? Let's get into it. Let's start off with those disclosures. MIZUNO was good enough to send me both of these shoes, the WAVE REBELLION Pro and the WAVE REBELLION Pro 2. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges and they're not going to get a chance to see this video before you do here on YouTube. So let's get started off with those specs and we'll get started with price. So right now the WAVE REBELLION Pro is still $250. It's likely that price is going to come down, but the great news is that the new WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 is also $250. It's really good to see that MIZUNO didn't raise the price. And with a lot of other shoe companies letting their premium race day shoes kind of creep up in the price, $250 gets to sound like more and more of a deal. Now, I'm totally joking. $250 is an astronomical price for a pair of running shoes, but still, a lot of companies are raising their prices. So as far as stack height goes, the WAVE REBELLION Pro has 39 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for a 4mm drop. The WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 has 38 in the heel, 36.5 in the forefoot for a 1.5mm drop. So we've removed a millimeter of stack height from the heel and we've added 1.5mm to the forefoot. Now you did hear me right, the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2 has a 1.5mm drop, 4mm drop on the OG, but we'll talk about why this really doesn't matter in just a second. MIZUNO claims that in a US men's size 9, the WAVE REBELLION Pro tips the scale at 7.9 ounces or 224 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 9.8 ounces or 278 grams. The WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 in a US men's size 9 has lost a little weight. We now come in at 7.6 ounces or 215 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, the WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 tips the scale at 9.7 ounces or 276 grams. So for me at least, in my size, the WAVE REBELLION Pro 2 is 2 grams lighter than the WAVE REBELLION Pro. Honestly, not noticeable, but I still like to see it on the scale. Now, both of these shoes, MIZUNO claims, are made for marathoners that are running sub 230. So that's a pretty swift pace. These shoes are assuredly made for the elite runner. I am not an elite runner. I don't run near the pace that it takes to run a 230 marathon, even in a 5K. So I want you to keep that in mind when we talk about how these shoes feel to me on the run. But let's talk about some of the differences in materials. The WAVE REBELLIon Pro has, in comparison, quite a thick heel collar. We've got quite a bit of padding around the heel collar. Now, really, it's not that much, but when we look at the heel collar of the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2, we have barely anything. It is razor thin, and the only padding we have on the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2 are these two little pads on each side of the back of your heel. And some of you may think that this sharp material may have the potential to kind of aggravate your ankle. That wasn't my experience. The WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2 was very comfortable to put on, and in all my testing of it, I didn't have any irritation from this heel collar. The heel counter on the WAVE REBELLIon Pro, on the original, it's pretty stiff. Now it's quite narrow, you can feel it. I don't know if you guys can see how I'm squeezing it. So it's quite a thin piece of material inside, but it is giving that rigidity, which is going to contribute to a good heel lock. The WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2, on the other hand, they've really done away with any heel counter at all. Now we do have this overlay right here at the back that's kind of covering the seam, but really that's not a heel counter. That's just an overlay really. So I am able to do this on the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2. Now, with that said, I want you to keep this in mind because generally speaking, even when I have shoes that don't have a heel counter, I don't usually experience any heel slip. That was also the case with the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2. It was very comfortable to put on. Once I had tied the laces, got a good lockdown, my heel didn't feel like it was going anywhere. I didn't even have that feeling of slip that I sometimes get on shoes with no heel counter. And when I say feeling of slip, it just feels a little loose. It's not actually slipping, but that's beside the point. I didn't have any of that feeling. I had a good lockdown in the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2. In fact, when both of these shoes were on my feet and I was wearing both at the same time, I really couldn't notice a difference in how the heel felt in each of them. Oh, this is a big change. On the WAVE REBELLIon Pro, we do have that extra eyelet, so we are able to do the runner's knot in order to get a good heel lockdown. On the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2, they have done away with that extra hole. So if you're someone that does tend to get a little bit of heel slip, you don't have an option to do the runner's knot on the WAVE REBELLIon Pro 2. I think that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Again, I didn't experience any heel slip, but if you find that you do on a regular basis, you may want to lean towards the original WAVE REBELLIon Pro. Both of these shoes are using the same engineered mesh upper. It's very light, it's very breathable on both both of them. The holes or the laser cut patterns in the upper are different on both of these shoes, but I didn't experience anything different as far as breathability. Your feet are certainly not going to overheat in these, and the overall lockdown is the same. Now, the tongues on both of these shoes, they are very similar. There's a few minor changes that I don't think anyone is really going to notice. The tongues are very thin, they're very flimsy, just the overlays are a little different. And I should mention that both of these tongues are not gusseted. Mizuno did make a change though. So on the Wave Rebellion Pro, we have a double lace loop right here at the top, but on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, we have the same double lace loop on the top, and then they added an additional lace loop on the bottom of the eyelet chain. Now, I didn't experience any tongue migration in the original Wave Rebellion Pro, and I also didn't in the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. So for me, I can't say that that extra lace loop on the tongue really made a difference on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, but it does give a little bit of sense of security. So for that reason, I'm glad they put it in. As far as overlays goes, there are really none. We've got the branding on both shoes. I think the overlays on the eyelet chain are a little heavier on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 than they are on the Wave Rebellion Pro, but other than that, it's really not noticeable. Coming down to the midsole, this is where you're going to get that pop. Now, this is where Mizuno has also made a few changes. Now, both of these shoes feature a dual density midsole. The top layer, we have Mizuno's premium foam. It's Mizuno Energy Light Plus, and the bottom layer is Mizuno Energy Light. Sandwiched in between these foams on both of these shoes are Mizuno's carbon-infused nylon wave plate. Now, this carbon-infused nylon wave plate is very stiff. That is very difficult to bend, and same on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. You know what? If I'm bending, I almost think the original is just a little stiffer. But that makes sense, because on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, Mizuno has redesigned the carbon-infused nylon wave plate, and they claim that it makes it 600% snappier than the Wave Rebellion Pro. I don't know how they're measuring that. I've really got no way to recreate any lab settings which measure the snappiness of a plate, but that's what they claim. Oh, one big thing I did forget to mention is coming back up to the upper, Mizuno has made a little change to the toe box of the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, and I think they've made it a little nicer for more people. They've added a little width to the toe box. Now, I have fairly narrow feet, and I didn't experience any issues with my feet in the original Wave Rebellion Pro, but still, it's always nice to have a little extra room. It wasn't actually until I was taking photos of these shoes side by side that I noticed that they'd added any width to the toe box. So if you did have the original Wave Rebellion Pro and you found it maybe a little tight, you are really going to like the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 with just that little bit extra room. Okay, back down to the midsole, back down to the carbon-infused nylon wave plate. Mizuno has also made changes to their smooth speed assist geometry. And basically, the smooth speed assist geometry is the geometry of all the components that make the shoes go forward. So on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, they've actually increased the angle of attack of the plate. So now it's just a little more aggressive than the Wave Rebellion Pro. It's very difficult holding the shoes up to show you, but basically, if the plate on the Wave Rebellion Pro is like that, the plate on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 is like that. Now, that is a gross overestimation of the angle of the plates, but I have to exaggerate it just to show you what I'm talking about. So because of that increased angle of attack, in my experience, the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 kind of feels like you're sitting a little more forward when you're stationary. Now, there are other effects of the angle of that plate, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So when I'm standing still, I kind of feel my midfoot. I feel all this cushion right here in the midfoot. On the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, it feels like I am just slightly more forward, a little more aggressive. And that's exactly what Mizuno was going for with version 2. It's come down to the outsole, and we can see a pretty obvious change here. On the medial side of the original Wave Rebellion Pro 2, we have that cutout that kind of angles out and comes out the side. On the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, we have the cutout from the midfoot all the way down to the heel with no cutout exiting through the medial side. This is going to make for a more stable ride on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 than the Wave Rebellion Pro. And for me, this is the biggest change that I actually noticed when I was running. So on the Wave Rebellion Pro, I did notice a little bit of collapsing on my medial side of my foot when my foot would hit the ground, but I should also point out that I only noticed that the inside of my foot was collapsing just a little when I compared it against the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. I've been running in this shoe all year, and I can't actually say that it was an issue. It was only when I put these shoes together head to head that I could feel the difference, and I actually like the feeling of stability more in the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 than in the Wave Rebellion Pro. Mizuno is using their same outsole rubber. It's their G3 rubber, and honestly, I've got no complaints about this. I've run in a lot of Mizuno shoes that has their G3 outsole rubber, and it is super grippy, but almost more importantly, I think it's super durable. These shoes are going to stand up to a lot, and I would wager that these shoes are going to be one of the most resilient super shoes that you can buy. Okay, now let's talk about ride. Let's talk about ride from a person that's really got no business running in these shoes. I mean, I say no business. It really is exactly my business to run in these shoes. But these shoes were not made for me, and yet I appreciate them every time I put them on my feet. These shoes feel fast. Do they actually make me a faster runner? I don't know, but they certainly make me feel like I'm a faster runner. Now, the downside of both of these shoes is exactly the same for me. Both of these shoes do not do well at slow speeds. They are made to go fast, they are made for a mid to forefoot strike, and if you go against what these shoes are made for, the run in these shoes just isn't going to feel good. At least it doesn't feel good for me. So usually on my workouts, I'll go out, I'll run a couple miles to warm up, then I'll do my workout where I'm actually putting in an effort, I'm running a bit faster, then I'll do a couple miles to cool down. In both of these shoes, I found it very challenging to run slow, probably because when I run slow, I really accentuate my heel strike. And these shoes just don't favor a heel striker. I mean, it's pretty obvious with that geometry, right? Oh, by the way, I should just point out now that we're talking about the geometry, and I realize it's very difficult for you to see on camera, especially because of this khaki zone colorway, but you see this angle of the heel. The angle actually appears greater on the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 than it does on the Wave Rebellion Pro. But anyway, back to what I was saying. The shoes don't feel good when I'm running slow. They feel amazing when you're running fast. So if you are a heel striker like me and you are set on getting one of these shoes, ideally I would say do a warm up in another shoe and then put these on for the actual work portion. If you're going to a race, same thing, warm up in a pair of shoes and then put on these race stays, these secret weapons to go and crush whatever distance you are racing. Now, if I had to choose which of these are better for a heel striker, I am definitely going with the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. It feels slightly more forgiving than the Wave Rebellion Pro when I'm running easy, but maybe that's in my head, and maybe that's just because these are new, but still for that reason, I would choose the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 over the Wave Rebellion Pro. Even though Mizuno has made a lot of changes, they've made the Wave Rebellion Pro 2 a lot more aggressive, I didn't actually notice a feeling that I was running faster, that one of these shoes feel faster. To me, they feel very similar as far as speed, but remember also, I think that is probably a product that I cannot run as fast as these shoes are designed for. But because I did talk about putting these shoes on for race day, let's just talk about that. Let's talk about race day. And first of all, I should say that I have a friend, and when she runs like up on her toes. It's almost comical to watch because it's like she's bounding on her toes, and I think that type of runner is ideally suited to these shoes. Me, as someone that does heel strike, especially when I'm running easy, but I do heel strike when I pick up the pace, it's just a lot less so. These shoes really only work for me when I'm picking up the pace. And when I really try and pick up the pace, they just seem to get better and better feeling, as in more energy return. Both of these shoes, to me at least, under my forefoot are equally as soft. They are very pleasant to run in. Oh, and one more complaint about running slow in these shoes, which you really shouldn't, but because I did run a couple of slow miles, I should tell you, I did notice a little extra fatigue in my ankles. And what is notable about that extra fatigue in my ankles is that it only happened when I was running more slow miles. When I went out and I just, let's say, did 1 mile to warm up, and then I immediately went into my tempo workout, I finished that run and my ankles felt great. So there is something that is perhaps unstable when running slow that goes away and kind of evens out and becomes more stable as you run fast. And one last thing, as far as race distances goes, look, if you have good form, if you're landing midfoot to forefoot, I think this is going to be a solid marathon day shoe. Because this shoe is actually made for a faster runner, I am going to have to lean to using these shoes on races where I can actually run a little faster. So for me, that's going to be 5K, 10K, even up to the half marathon. I think I could really make these work. I think they would feel good. But I just think that the fatigue that sets in late in the marathon would really make these shoes a no-go for me. So what are your thoughts? Have you tried either of these shoes? Are you thinking of picking up a pair? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't tried either of these and you do wear another super shoe, I'd love to know what that is. And with that, it's Matt B. This has been my comparison of the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro versus the Wave Rebellion Pro 2. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.